Hey, welcome to Late Onset Blues Guitar. My name is Jim Sesters. This is brought to you by Sestronics. Sestronics is the company that makes pedals that fit in your guitar. I want to welcome you back. I hope you've been watching our other tutorials. And if you haven't, go back and catch them up. We'd love to. This is kind of a building process, and we'd like you to build on the stuff we've done before. This is tutorials for people over 50 that want to get out and maybe play in a band or go to a blues jam. And I want to help you do that and not embarrass yourself and be asked back. That's a big deal, is being asked back. I'm really happy about this lesson. It has a title, The Magic of the BB Box. What is the BB Box? As a matter of fact, there's an Albert King box too. Let me show you what I'm talking about. And then we're going to get into some pieces of what I was doing in the intro, and we'll be able to show you this. So first of all, you know the blues pentatonic scale. If we call that position 1, then if you play over here, and you hear this, so these 5 notes, that makes a house. If you look at the 5 notes, that's Albert King's house. And Albert King's house lays over the minor chord. An interesting thing to know, again, it's the chord shapes, and we haven't talked much about minor. In fact, we haven't talked at all about minor. We will eventually, but I want to stick with the majors for now. And right next door to him is a second position, or the third position of the blues boxes, and it is BB's house. And BB's house is the house where the major chords live. Now I said, what are you talking about? That's kind of crazy. So I'm going to refer to my notes as we talk, because they're going to be flashed up behind me. Maybe they'll flash me completely out. I don't know. It could be a Beautify America Day or something. Anyway, we're going to talk about the different chord shapes. So if we're in the key of G, which we are today, we need to talk about the different G chord shapes. So I've done this before, but now we're putting up some guitar fretboards behind us that make it a little easier to visualize. So the first shape is right here, and it's out of the E shape, but I only use the top 3 strings. That's a G chord. The next one is here under the D shape. That's a G chord. And the final one in the first octave of the guitar is here. That's another G chord in the A shape. There's also an open G chord. The Rolling Stones use that occasionally. But those are the 3 shapes for the G. And on the figure behind me, I'm showing the G roots as a star. So you know where the roots are. So the roots are, I'm not going to demonstrate them, but there's roots are shown in the image. The next chord is the C chord. And this is a little interesting, and they do this in different keys where they'll kind of straddle the octave. So this is a C chord in the D shape with 2 open strings. There's also a C chord in the A shape right here. There's the C chord in the E shape. And finally the same C chord up here. So you've got really 3 usable. You can do this, but I don't use that much, but you have 3 usable C shapes. And then finally, and the root of the C chord looks like a little cloud on the document. I'm going to those make a difference when we get further on. The D chord is the 3rd chord that we have in our progression. It's the 3rd chord or the 5th, because we're going to be playing a 1-5-4, which is a term we use a lot in blues. So the first one is here. The second one is here. The third one is here. And there's another one, again, straddling the octaves up here. So you've got these D chords. And you remember earlier we had a little bit of a lesson where you would play the 1, 4, 5, just playing the different shapes of the same chord. It's a really effective and not an easy exercise to do, but it'll get your fingers used to moving in the different shapes and thinking about where those shapes lie. So now we're going to get a little bit into the heart of this. The basic BB box. The basic BB box is again a house. It's the house that BB lives in. And if you look at it, it's right here, there's a root G, there's a root C, and there's a root D. This is the 1, 4, 5, G, C, D. It's in the box. That being said, if I were to solo over this as a chords transpire, I have some really effective notes I can hit, and that's what BB does. He hits these notes when it goes to the root. He could hit this note right here is the G note, very effective. There's also a D there. There's a C here, but this is an interesting thing. But it doesn't sound particularly great when you're in the root chord. So if you slide down a half step, there happens to be a major third. And we're going to get into that in a bit. But B.B. King plays in this box, or he lives in this house, and he's smart, and he uses bends, trills, and slides to move around the box and to move outside the box. But the basic BB box is right here. Those are the notes that we're going to use. So this exercise we're going to do today is going to use this box, but we're going to extend the box slightly. So I have another sheet that we're going to put up, another figure behind me. And the BB box as an extension has got a lot of things you can do. If you look at the red chords, those are G chords that are close to the BB box. The green are the C chords that are in the BB box, and the blue are the D chords that are next to the BB box. And then right next to this A note right here, I say the B flat note is in there. Use that B flat note. That's a great note to bend to. It works with the G, and it really works with the C, because that's the seventh of the C chord, and those sevenths are a big deal in the blues. And we haven't talked much about chord extensions, but use the B flat. But when you're in the root, that doesn't sound good, because that's the minor third of the G chord. If you step up one step, if I can find the step, I fell off the staircase. This is the B note, which is the major third. So what we do when we play this, we might play a G and then take the B flat and push it up, bend it up to a B. It sounds better to do that than it does to play the B flat, because it will clash if you stay on it too long. And this is what this is all about. This is an exercise in playing in the chords as they go by. So if we're in the one chord, we want to play things that are related to the one chord. First of all, we still got this G right here, which I'm allowing as an extension of the BB box. And then there's another D chord that we can use that's right next to that BB box. And then there's the D chord here, the C chord here, and then you've got these extensions. And remember, the extensions are this B flat and the B that sound really good when you're playing in the root. So the exercise today is to really play this and to think about the chords as they're going by. And don't worry about playing fast. In fact, playing too fast is often playing out of time. So think about it. None of the blues masters, Albert Collins, B.B. King, or Albert King, play extremely fast at all times. In fact, they try to take things that sound like a human voice, and most people don't talk at 90 miles an hour. It's really, really an important concept, especially if you're beginning. You don't want to get rushed. You don't want to start playing fast notes, you want to play in time. And if the note isn't right, bend it. Bending is a great thing to do, or slide up. You can do all this stuff. And the final chart that I want to show you is the regular pentatonic scale. And what I've shown are the roots in the pentatonic scale. And this is, I'm just up here in the G. I want to show you some things. The roots are here and here on the G, and here. There's 3 roots. There's some C roots here, and you've got another one over here, and then there's D roots right in the scale. So there's 3 of them, 3 roots really close by. That's an interesting thing to remember, because those are great notes to land on or to start from as the chords change. And the final thing I want to show you is the B note, which isn't part of the pentatonic scale, but it's right here. And here's the minor third and the third. When you're playing a G chord, we're playing the B. We're not playing the B flat. That's a half step off, and it really clashes. And you'll hear a lot of blues players bending that note to keep it away from the chord tones if you're in the root. So when you're playing the root, it's really effective to play the major third. Just remember that. There's all sorts of things like this, but I want to keep this to manageable. And so I'm going to play again, and I'm going to play mostly in the BB box. A lot of beginning blues players seem to hang in the first position pentatonic scale. That works, but that's not interesting. And it's not training your ear to listen to the chords. I can't stress enough how important it is to train your ear to listen to those chords. And that's why we go through the different chord shapes. Plus, it's pretty nice to grab these chords as your turnaround, particularly if you're the only guy playing against the bass, and you can fill in the sounds that are missing. So I'm going to play the intro again at the backing track, and I'm going to play, now watch me, I'm going to play in the BB box. I'm going to play in BB's house, and I'm going to try to hit the roots at the right time. This is really an effective way to play. You've got the basic BB box, the 5-note pentatonic note house right here. You've got the G chord, which is really close. You've got a D chord here and a C chord here. And if you look right here, there's another D chord. These are all effective things to remember as you're playing this. And it's kind of like cheating, because you can't go wrong playing the chord as you pass through it. So we're going to do that. One thing to watch when I start playing the backing track is it's going to come right in too fast for me to really play on the G. So I'm going to wait until the 4 comes around. This is another important thing to remember. If you're playing at a jam session, the person telling you when it's time to play, and there will be somebody there pointing out it's your turn, if the 1 goes around and you can't get on the train, don't start playing on the 1. Pick it up on the 4. It's going to sound a lot more professional to come in on a chord change than it is to randomly come in. Slow it down, think about the chord tones as you're playing, and this will improve your ear tremendously. So I'm going to start this. This is just a straight ahead blues, I think about 130 beats, and I hope you get something out of this, because it really helps me when I was learning to play. So now we're in the 1. It's coming around. Here we go. You notice there, I put in some intentional mistakes. That's what we like to say. They're intentional mistakes. They go by. It happens in jam sessions all the time. But the point of it is, playing in the BB box, I was trying to hit the roots, trying to hit the chord tones, and using the tones that are allowable. And one of the things I didn't mention, but I'd like to mention, is I go to this. I'm on the D and the B flat when I'm in the G. If I hit that against the G chord, it doesn't sound good. But if I stretch it, this is done in blues a lot. And this is, if you look, there's a G minor here, and this is how I think of it. On the G minor, just stretch the minor a little bit. And you've got a great sound you can use in any of the chords if it's in the chord tones you're interested in. Anyway, that's what I want to talk about today, is the magic of the BB box. There is magic in the Albert King box, magic in the BB box, but those gentlemen are playing on those root notes or playing in the chord tones. That's what makes them fantastic, as well as their sense of where they're at in the song. That's not going to come real fast to us. But will come fast is getting the chord sounds in your ear. Very important. Anyway, thank you for watching this tutorial on the magic of the BB box. Remember to check out the Sestronics website, and we'll be doing these in another few weeks. And I want to thank you for watching.